I want to begin by, as we get into what Aaron had in his montage, I want to begin by sharing a little bit about my own personal life. So I grew up, I was always a bit on the stocky side, but an okay athlete, more of the kind of guy that was better at sports than athletic. Does that make sense?
Oh, sure.
Like, because I'm good at hand-eye coordination, memory, with a lot of practice, I got good at anticipating where a ground ball would go, anticipating where the basketball was going to go. So I was more good at sports, but if we did an actual a fitness assessment of who ran the fastest, jumped the highest, I was always really mediocre. Okay, but I always outplayed my athletic ability just with practice and anticipation and things of that nature. But I played sports year round. I was really, really active. And back in those days, creatine was just beginning to come in when we were graduating from high school. We didn't have strength and conditioning programs and stuff like you have now. We just played sports year round. And then after practice, if you had 2-a-days, on the way at the practice in the morning, you'd go to Burger King at 2-for-1 croissants to fuel up for breakfast, or Egg McMuffins or something, or bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits at Mickey D's, right? And then afterwards, y'all just had that's back when Taco Bell had the 39-cent or 49-cent, 79-cent, and 99-cent menu is what I think it was, right? And just load up on some burrito supremes before you voted for that guy for president, right? And you just burn all that stuff off. You know what the calorie count was. You didn't care, right?
Nope.
Okay. Really wasn't until I got into college and started hitting Taco Bell after hitting the party scene that you started caring about what was in that food then, if you know what I'm saying, brother. All right. But that's a topic for another day. Anyway, you just develop a bunch of bad habits, but you were really super active, so it didn't matter. You get into college, those habits continue, and now you're not as super active. I did play a lot of intramural basketball. Some people might have thought it was my major, but actually Super Tecmo Bowl was my major. And it took a lot of time being sedentary in a dorm room, mastering that game to be as good at it as I was, right? And so what happens when you get more sedentary, but you're still eating the same way you did when you played all those sports in high school, right? That's the freshman 15 happens, right? For me, it became like the freshman 50. And then I get married, and then you start feeling, all right, man, I'm married. I'm good to go. I don't have to impress anybody anymore. Before I know it now, I am packing I'm over 350. And I'm wearing a size 5X shirt. I'm wearing 44 or 46 inseam jeans, okay? And we start having kids, and especially when Amy says, hey, I'm going to have a son, that's when you start realizing, man, I better do something about the shape I'm in, or this boy is going to be able to whoop my ass at 12, and then he'll end up being a terrible man as a result of not having the right reverential level of fear as he should have for his old man, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got to do something about this, So after Noah's born, we go through his problem, pregnancy and stuff, and I meet a gentleman who ends up being a really good friend of mine to this day. Was starting a company on preventative health and science, and he wanted to take on the task of making me healthy again. And I needed to lose. In my program, I'd lost a little bit of weight. It was amazing what happened when I stopped eating a box of cereal for breakfast every morning. It was amazing. I lost 30 pounds just doing that, but I still needed to lose another 150 pounds. So over the next 2 years, I worked diligently with him and got over 100 pounds lost. Right around a little less than 110. And I mean, my fitness level is soaring now. I've got the resting heart rate of a 25-year-old runner. I mean, it's just my entire health perspective. I was taking Nexium and all those sorts of things. I'm not taking any of that stuff anymore. I mean, my whole health perspective changes. We get to the end of the second year of this though. And we get to Christmas time, man. And I'm like, last year I didn't do all the Christmas sweets. I took a break on Christmas Day, but I missed out, and I've come so far, and I'm like, I'm just, man, I got to live again, And the good news was I'm one of the few people that's probably lost well over 100 pounds the old-fashioned way. The bad news was I never went back and lost the other 40 some odd pounds I needed to lose. And so what's happened is over the course of the last 10 years, I have fluctuated in this range. Now we're getting into the season where I'll be a lot more active and outdoors and everything again. I'll take another 20, 25 of those 40 some odd pounds I needed to lose off. We'll get into the fall. We get into pumpkin spice season and chocolate mint season and all that other stuff. And winter, I'll put that weight back on and I go back and forth. And I've done this for about 10 years. Now, did I make immense improvements in my health?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Am I in a lot better shape? Yeah, no question. Am I as healthy as I probably need to be? No, I needed to lose those other 40 some odd pounds. Why do I bring this up? Because I want to make sure that we don't make the same mistake with COVID, Stan, that I made with my health. We are winning. We have all the momentum now, all of it. I told you in January when the CDC came out with that chart, remember I said this, I put my marker down. And I said, that will be a defining moment. When they came out with that ridiculous chart about who could go to school and where it was safe and to be in person and everything else, that was so indefensible, that would anger so many people, I said, that this would change the momentum of this. And that turned out to be true.
It did.
That's been a line in the sand. If you go back to where the trend lines have been in terms of public perception and political leverage since the CDC released that school chart in January, all of it the trend line has all been on our side. And it's ramping up now. I mean, Aaron sent me a text over the weekend looking at all the headlines that just broke over the weekend. And he's like, are they just going to like gaslight us like this entire year just never happened? Looks like they're kind of starting to head that way to some extent. And understand this about the spirit of the age. Whatever it offers you, you already had. All of you listening to me, the amount of emails I get every day now, hey, I'm thinking of running for this office. Can you help me with this? Or I'm helping somebody running for this office. You have any pointers on this? Remember this. This is a cardinal rule, what I'm about to repeat. Whatever the system offers you, you already had. So the fact that you're now being offered to take your mask off meant that you already won that argument. It just wanted to get out ahead of it before you figured out, man, there's 40 people sitting here in a Walmart not wearing a mask anymore. Why the hell am I wearing one too? And then another 40 people do it, another 40 people do it. And then you realize you were the ones that ended the mask mandates, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, it wanted to get out in front of that before you realized you were the ones ending this. So it made you an offer you couldn't refuse because you already had it. Whatever it offers you, you already have. That's actually where the negotiating starts. When the spirit of the age finally says, all right, I'm cornered. I got to give something up. Whatever it offers you is where the negotiating begins. Not where it ends, where it begins. Alabama dominated Ohio State in the national championship game the entire way last January. Had a comfortable lead going into the fourth quarter. But if Nick Saban had said, all right, guys, pour one out, we're done. Walk off. And Ohio State just played against themselves for the entire fourth quarter. Were they going to come back and win? Yeah. They needed to finish the game. For the first time in a year, I'm looking forward to going back to one of my favorite places, Costco, again. In fact, I haven't gone for several months until last week. Those little things where it makes you feel like, Aaron said before the show, getting to go back there without a mask and get my favorite potato salad. It felt like normal again. Yes, it's getting normaler. But if we are satisfied with this, just like I was satisfied with losing 105, 106 pounds as opposed to losing 150. And now I've carried that extra 40 some odd pounds with me. Sometimes of the year it's the full 40 some odd. Other times of the year it's 20 some odd, 30 some odd. But I've carried some of that with me from not finishing the job for the last 10 years. Finish the job. They're scared. They see the anger at the school board meetings are metastasizing. They see the uprisings are metastasizing. They see people who are flaunting, I'm not wearing a mask anymore. The nasty headlines of throwing kids off of planes for not wearing masks. The center could not hold And this all happened with, frankly, ADF and a lot of our outstanding all-star conservative legal organizations still on the sidelines. We hadn't even challenged them legally full bore yet. This was just all public perception. A lot of your legislatures are breaking for the session or are going out of session for the year already. So this wasn't a massive legislative pushback or a whole bunch of lawsuits that were going to kick the legs out from underneath their table. Public perception. We were doing this. We were no longer consenting to be governed like this. Celebrate the win. Go back to the places you haven't wanted to go to anymore without the useless Chinese face diaper. I'm not saying that. Alabama was way ahead of Ohio State in the national championship game when they scored another touchdown. Did they celebrate it?
Oh, yeah.
Celebrate all touchdowns. But did they walk off the field as if the game was over? No. The spirit of the age is going to demand something to walk away from. Some new line of tyranny, despotism, that is your new normal that it will then incrementally come back and build on with something else from there later. Do not grant it. Give no quarter. None. Do not be satisfied with this. The fact they have cited no specific science on why the mask can go away, which means what? There was never any specific science about why they were ever assigned in the first place. It's been flat earth voodoo, junk science from the beginning. Just because Hitler blew his brains out in the bunker doesn't mean the war's over. You know when it's over? When they show up on their knees and sign an unconditional surrender. That's when it's over. They're already attempting to negotiate the terms. Give us your children instead. Let us vaccinate your children forcibly instead for a virus with an experimental substance that is still at least 2 years away from FDA approval, that they are either neither victims of by and large nor vectors of. That morbidly obese 900-pound teacher accosting that student should never be allowed in a public building, let alone a school, ever again. Give them nothing. We'll mask the children in school. We've known for well over a year they're the least vulnerable of them all. So why are they demanding the children as the final surrender terms? Because it's the children that they've wanted all along. That's why they took over the schools. It's your children they've wanted all along. Don't you dare. Don't you dare, mom and dad, grandpa and grandma, aunt and uncle. Don't you dare. Walk away from the fight now. That it appears you're winning, and winning big, and give them your children. Look at the mask cult they produced this year with 20, 30 years of indoctrination. Look at the fear cult they produced. Hand them your children now, and those same children will come back in future years and be the end of us. Don't you dare do it. Celebrate going back to Costco and Walmart again, going back to the movies again. I'm going to. I'd urge you to. You made it happen. Yeah, a handful of governors did something. A handful of legislatures did something. But by and large, we did it. Celebrate. We brought them to their knees. But it's not over. Not yet. There is time on the clock. On the way out, they're trying to get a hold of your kids. Don't let them have our children. No, you don't get them. I will criminalize mask wearing before I give you my kid. And maybe we should do that anyway. Don't make the mistake I made with my health 10 years ago. 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 10 years I probably added 20 to 30 years on my life. But I could have done better. I didn't finish the task. And now you look at a guy that doesn't have 3 chins, but has a half extra one. And a guy that was supposed to be wearing size 34, 36 jeans and wears size 38, 36 jeans now. Is that great progress?
Yeah.
Is that something to celebrate?
It absolutely was.
Is that, though, what I set out to do?
It is not.
No, it is not. Do not let the spirit of the age, which is trying to figure out how the hell to get out of this as fast as possible. Okay, just give us your kids and we'll call the whole thing off. Hell no. You will not have our kids. In fact, the Great Reset works both ways, folks.
Yep.
What a great opportunity. How many of you are now more interested in what's gone on in your school boards than you ever have been in the past? What's gone on in your city councils and state legislatures and departments of health and bureaucracies than you ever have been in the past? We could do a great reset too. We're going to reset a few things. In fact, while we're here taking the masks off our kids, let's look at your curriculum. What are you teaching the kids? Let's look at your standards while you're here. In fact, while we're here, let's just go ahead and throw the whole thing open while you're here.
It's time to flatten their curve.
That's exactly right. Finish it. Do not walk away now. The enemy is in retreat. Do you know what you do to an enemy in retreat? You rout them. And you keep amassing casualties until they say, we quit. Just make it stop. Boot to the throat harder.